Hello friends, we'll be discussing the concept of consumer equilibrium now. Now, what exactly consumer equilibrium means you must have already understood. Let us understand few more details of it. A consumer is said to be in equilibrium when he is buying such combination of goods and that leaves him with no tendency to rearrange his purchase of goods. This is what we have already understood. Following assumptions have been made to explain the equilibrium. Now, the first assumption states that the consumer has given indifference map exhibiting his scale of preference for various combinations of goods X and good Y. That means a consumer is giving with an indifference map. That means different level of satisfactions in different curves here. He has a fixed amount of money to spend on two goods. He has to spend his given income on two goods. This is again an assumption here. Prices of two goods are given and constant for him. That means prices of both the goods are given to him and they are going to stay constant. This is again an assumption that we are trying to make here. He cannot influence the price of goods by buying more or less of them. Just like in share markets, when you buy more of those shares, the prices get influenced. That cannot be done here. It is an assumption that we are making. Now, when we're talking about the conditions of consumer equilibrium, what are the basic conditions that you need to follow or that needs to happen for a consumer to be in equilibrium position is what we are going to study. The following are the two conditions that must be satisfied for a consumer's equilibrium under indifference curve analysis. First, marginal rate of substitution of xy, that is equal to price of x upon price of y, necessary condition. It indicates that the slope of indifference curve must be equal to the slope of budget line. So if this is the budget line, if this slope is equal to the indifference curve, that means this is the condition that has to be followed first. So indifference curve should be equal to the slope here. It is because that, or rather it is so because if MRX XY is greater than PX, it is indicates that the consumer willingness to pay for X is more than the price in the market. This states that if the marginal rate of substitution of both X and Y is greater than the price of goods X and price of Y, here the consumer is willing to pay more than the market price here. The consumer will continue to buy more of X till the ratio becomes equal for him. Until unless this ratio becomes equal, he'll keep paying more, that is 1:1. In the same way, if MRX is less than Y, or rather the price of X upon price of Y, it indicates that the consumer willingness for X is less than the price prevailing in the market. The consumer will reduce the amount of X. This is when we start about when we require the first consumption, and this comes at the last consumption here. So we need to understand both these concepts. Now, indifference curve is convex to the origin and MRS continuously falls sufficient condition. Again, we also know this, that indifference curve is convex in position and the decline, or rather the MRS, marginal rate of substitution, keeps on declining as how the convex curve, or rather when we're talking about convex curve, if we are at this position, if we go down here MRX goes on declining. This is what we already know here. The second condition for consumer equilibrium states that MRS must be diminishing at the point of equilibrium. Hence, it keeps on declining. In other words, indifferent curve must be convex to origin at the point of equilibrium. This is what we have studied or understood as of now. Now, this condition needs to be satisfied in order to achieve a stable equilibrium, which is not possible to be achieved in the case of MRS not falling continuously at the point of equilibrium. If at all the marginal rate of substitution is not declining towards the end of the indifference curve, that means there is no equilibrium in that situation, hence you cannot consider that part. Now, this is the consumer equilibrium course, or rather this is the given suggestion. If you see, this is IC3, IC2 and IC1. Here, this is the point of equilibrium that we have figured out. This is the budget line that has been given here. Now, this is the explanation. In this 3.12, being a rational consumer always tries to choose the combination of X and Y which brings him to the highest level of indifference curve. Now, in this point is giving them the highest level of indifference curve, or rather highest level of satisfaction on the indifference curve, with both the quantities being taken. Now, in this context, we should note that the BL is the business line, or rather the budget line, and slope downwards from left to right, and indifferent curves are convex to the origin. We also figured out that here the budget line, this thing, is specifically sloping downwards, and the indifference curve are convex in nature. Now, therefore, if we take any particular indifference curve, we come across three possibilities. First, the business line or rather the budget line does not touch it at all. Second, it intersects it twice. Third, it is tangent to it. These are the three cases that we understand. Now, it should also be noted that business line or rather the budget line can be tangent to any one and only one indifference curve. It cannot be tangent to all the three indifferent curve. It can be tangent to only one indifference curve, and that needs to be a mandatory condition. Given the assumptions, highest possible of indifference curve can be reached would be one to which business line is tangent. Now, if you need to figure out where is the highest level of satisfaction you can gain, wherever the business line or rather the budget line is tangent to the indifference curve, that is the point whereby you'll have the maximum level of satisfaction with both the codes being taken at equal quantity here. So the point of tangency represents consumer equilibrium. So whatever point it hits, that is the point of consumer equilibrium. So this is all that we have when it comes to consumer equilibrium and the budget line being a part of it. That's it for the video. Thank you.